Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine Behind the Markets. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, the 27th. Yes, I am still wearing my Twilight Zone hoodie. I have to wash it and take it off. I think today's the last day, but I can't get enough of it. It's making me smile every day, every time I put it on. Anyway, today I'd like to talk about a note out from Bank of America. It's out with a note from their analyst, Michael Hartnett, who is clearly smart and well-educated, which is, you don't always get those at big banks. Surprise, surprise. But here's a line that really caught my attention, and I thought it was worth sharing. Quote, geopolitics now driven by need to monopolize commodities. Who owns the chips, rare earths, minerals, oil, wins the AI war. I'm going to read that again. Geopolitics is now driven by the need to monopolize commodities. Who owns the chips, rare earths, minerals, oil, wins the AI war. I bring this up today because we've been talking so much about the micro, company A, company B, what Elon Musk is doing, what's happening with the chip stocks, they're soaring and all that other stuff. But I find it very helpful as an investor to pull the camera back and get a reset on the big picture of what's really happening here. And I think it's really understated here that there's really one chessboard. The globe is one chessboard right now. What's happening in the Middle East is a small chessboard. What happened in Venezuela, South America, is a small chessboard. But there's really one chessboard with two main players. That's the US and China. Every piece on the chessboard, every other piece is being moved around to benefit one of these two countries. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is what Winston Churchill referred to as the great game, this great power competition between them. It was England and France at the time, or England and Germany. Now it is America, the United States, and China, truly a peer competitor, or really close to being a peer competitor. And really, it speaks to a lot of the moves Trump has been making that have been very controversial. We think about renaming the Gulf of Mexico, renaming it the Gulf of America. At first I heard that, I was like, what the heck is going on? That's really off-putting. But again, there are resources in the Gulf of America right now that are critical to winning this AI war. Very, very critical resources, which is why the Extended Continental Shelf Project pushed out our borders so far and gave us a claim to, by some estimates, around the country, $500 trillion in resources, new resources, very, very important stuff, which is why we went to Venezuela. Really, Venezuela and Iran, both oil suppliers to China. You think about it, China has been feasting on cheap sanctioned oil for a very, very long time. That is no longer the case. China loves when we put sanctions on a country like Iran, and they're able to buy stuff from Iran really, really deeply discounted. That is no more. And of course, Iran's a complicated issue, and now a lot of folks don't support the war, even allowing them to get a regime to get nuclear weapons, a regime that swears death to America, in my view. I always imagine them smuggling up a dirty bomb or a nuclear weapon or several dirty bombs through South America, through a drug route from the Sinaloa cartel, and then detonating it in Washington, D.C. during the State of the Union. So that's always oh my goodness, anything to stop that, because that could lead to civil war and a much worse world for our children and grandchildren than the one we grew up in. Anybody above 40, anybody who survived 9/11 or who watched 9/11, like me, who ran away from 9/11, those towers coming down, understands you can't have people that believe they actually go to heaven to meet Allah have nuclear weapons. They don't have the mutually assured destruction disincentive that, let's say, the Soviet Union had. With the Soviet Union and the United States, it was mutually assured destruction, but these people actually think that's a good thing. So anyway, so Iran, Venezuela, both China proxies, both selling cheap oil to China, which lowered their cost of doing business, allowed them to grow at faster rates. By taking that oil, basically, and controlling the tap like we do in Iraq. A lot of people think we have nothing to do with Iraq, but all Iraq oil is sold through U.S. entities. So now we control the tap. That has a bunch of positive effects. I know it's piggish for us to do this, but think about this. that prohibits China, or it raises their cost, lowers their economic growth, and also incentivizes them, or disincentivizes them actually, from launching an invasion of Taiwan for the AI war. So this is a way, a cheaper way in this administration's view of winning this AI war without an all-out shooting war in Taiwan, to really cut their supply lines for critical oil much further away from the action. It's a great strategy that way. So there's a bunch of things going on here, and I think it's important to point out that this is the great chessboard that's happening right now. And we're going to be releasing a report on this, another report, in addition to the Gulf of America report that we released last year, really taking you behind the scenes on some of these opportunities now that American citizens suddenly have access to in terms of ownership stakes on these resources in the Gulf, or how America benefits from Venezuela and Iran. And I am not a war hawk, just for the record. War is young kids on the battlefield crying, screaming for their mothers. I understand that. I really, really do. But I'd rather live in a world where we control, where we have a say, a very serious say in how our lives are, versus a world controlled by China. Because I always imagine that China floods Europe and floods all these countries with their cheap goods and basically pushes our champions, Microsoft, Meta, AMD, Intel, whomever, Nvidia, out of Europe, and basically just losing those client states, for lack of a better word, would really reduce our retirement accounts and make us a lot poorer. So there's a lot going on here. You know, it's very good to reset and understand the big chessboard, and that's how we make moves. Once we kind of understand the global macro position here, then we're able to selectively see opportunities and go in there and take advantage of them, just like we've been doing. Anyway, that's all I have for you on this Monday. Happy day, happy Monday. I will see you tomorrow.